name is Mia Young. My stage name is Mia X.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in New Orleans, downtown 7th Ward, on St. Anthony between Roman and Prier.
What was the neighborhood like then?
It was a wonderful neighborhood because the elders took care of us. Everybody was everybody's child. It was a neighborhood that was very rich in culture. Our grandparents told us stories and they shared all of their experiences with us. They taught us things, so it was an awesome neighborhood.
Did you have musicians in your family?
The Dixie Cups, Bobby and Rose.
And who are they to you?
They are my cousins. I call them my aunts. In our family, anybody that's old enough to be your mom or your dad or whatever is an uncle or aunt, even if they're a cousin.
And what about records that you heard growing up? What was played in your house?
Everything was playing in my house. My biological father was one of the first African-American rock promoters. He lived in California, so he sent me the groups that he promoted concerts for. Chicago and Rolling Stones, Fleetwood Mac, when Patti LaBelle was in LaBelle, Natalie Cole, Earth, Wind and Fire, Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, Muta Baruka, Burning Spear. Everything was in my house. Everything. Even Millie Jackson's rap, I had to say it.
And did you sing too ever? You sang a little bit, right?
Well, just like on hooks and stuff, but I never thought I would be any type of singer at all.
What was your first memory when you were little of wanting to be something? What did you want to be when you grew up? Maybe before, did you always want to be a musician? Did you want to?
Yeah, I knew that I wanted to be in entertainment. I wanted to work on the radio when I was like 4 or 5. But when I got to high school, career day, everybody was saying what they wanted to be, and I told them I was going to be a rapper, and everybody thought it was funny.
What did you say?
I didn't say anything. I just waited till my record dropped.
So you grew up around the corner from Mannie. You've known him for a long time.
Yes. We went to elementary school together. We went to junior high school together and high school together. So, yes, like my brother.
So New York Incorporated, you're young and, Denny D, he's Wop's cousin. And so what was the first time, were you all just hanging out?
No, actually, they were a DJ crew, and it was just all guys. And they used to throw parties at this place that was called the Pentagon. It's another club now, but it's on the corner of AP2 Road and Miro. And this particular night, they were playing a lot of break beats, and they were asking people to get up and rap. And I remember my cousin saying, "You can do it, get up and rap," So I went on the stage.
Because you'd written poetry,
Yes.
obviously you'd done all this
Since
other
3rd
stuff.
grade, I was writing the poetry. So, I was like, how hard could it be? I had listened to the Sequence records over and over. I listened to Sugar Hill Gang. I listened to so many hip-hop artists that were coming out and recording in New York. So I was like, I don't think it's hard. I just got up there, and Manny was like, I didn't know you knew how to rap. And then a friend of mine who was also from our neighborhood, Tanel, she got up there and rapped, and we became the first females in the rap group, New York Incorporated.
And how did people receive you? The first time, that was that first performance, but were people like, oh, this is cute, little girl's doing it, were people respectful?
Very respectful, because we was dope. That's the thing. At the end of the day, you have to be dope. It doesn't matter if you're a girl, if you're a guy. You just have to be dope. That's the thing about hip-hop, Especially now, you see there are no color lines. There are no gender lines. Your qualification is you must be dope. We was dope.
What was your favorite New York Incorporated performance that you remember?
It was something. It was a scandal. a big concert in the Municipal Auditorium. LL Cool J, Cool Mo D, Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Salt and Pepper. It was everybody. We got the opportunity to open up for them. My brain was so wrapped around hip hop. I was always a really good student, and my grades began to slip. So my mama told me I couldn't perform. I went out the window, went to the concert. We got the opportunity to perform. It was awesome. The crowd loved us because they was used to seeing us perform. This was 1985. When I got off the stage, honey, my mama was backstage waiting for me, and she didn't come. My dad had a fly low Nova, and then he had this pickup truck that was beat up like Sanford and Son. They came in the pickup truck. My mom's dreads was just starting to come out, but they were wow, like the Lion King. And usually she wore her hair wrapped. She fixed me. She came with the wild hair, and she had these fiery hazel eyes, and she was like, "Get your ass off this stage. I told you you have 3 Ds and you couldn't rap at this damn concert." So I got embarrassed, but I still got to rock the stage.
You've been involved with the Indians for a long time. You asked when you were little.
Yes.
Were there other Indians in your family? How'd that come about?
Tootie Montana was chief of the Yellow Pocahontas. He is my grandmother's cousin. His son Daryl is now the chief. There were always Indians around me and in my house. My grandmother cooked, and she was very, very involved in our community. And so we had second liners. My grandmother and my great grandfather, they were members of the Jolly Bunch. That was a second line club way back, like early 70s. And so that part of New Orleans culture has always been in my family from as early as I can remember. I always remember being at the second lines, even around people's necks, and going on the Hunter's Field. Jerome Smith is also my grandmother's cousin. And I was just always there, always in the midst of it, always watching my cousins and my uncles and my aunts sew, always watching them chant, always just listening to the words that they used and how they used those words in everyday language. So it was just something that I was always around. It's just like a second skin.
And what's the connection between, musically, what's the connection between Harlem's Rap and Bounce and the Indians? How do you see it manifest itself?
Because it's such a part of our culture. When we gave our contribution to hip hop, it was a lot of chants, and it was a lot of our original words, and it was a lot of the words that the Indians used when they masqueraded and when they chanted. We incorporated that into hip hop, and that's what gave us a sound that still stands out from everybody. A sound that's imitated over and over and over because it's a standalone sound. People don't understand the reason why it's a standalone sound is because it's part of our culture. You know, you're just not in New Orleans. New Orleans is in you. And when you have something to give to the world, New Orleans is going to come out.
What were the people, aside from the women in your family, you had so many strong women in your family, what female performers did you look at? I mean, who were you using as a role model?
You know,
did you have one?
the women in my family were my role models because I was with them 24/7, and I was watching them succeed and fail, and learning my whatnots and my what tos. But as far as music, I fell in love with hip hop in '79. In 1980, the Sequence made me know that I could do it because they were 3 girls, and one of the standout hip hop artists in that group was Angie Stone. She was Angie B. But hearing the Sequence, hearing so many ladies, Pebbly Pooh was really, really good. Shyrock, she was really, really good. hearing them gave me, like that courage juice. Like I could do this too. And so I just started turning my poems into music, taking my mom's records and scratching them, trying to loop them, and having her scream. Um, but because my grandmother cussed a lot, and I cussed a lot too as a child because I was the first grandchild, and she had me with her all the time, and she would say, real hardcore things to people, and if they don't like you, Mitty, that's what she called me. They can kiss your ass. So.
And this is your grandma you read the
Yes.
book about.
Yes. So, Millie Jackson, I think it was 81, on a Live and Unrestricted album, she dropped a rhyme called I Had to Say It. That was the first time I heard a lot of cursing with rhyming. So at that point, I was like, oh, so I can curse too. And oh my goodness, I started sneaking little words in. And I could say I'm around my grandmother, but my mom would be like, why you have to say the curse word? All of those words that I made you look up, and that's the only word you can come up with? So my mom challenged my mind because she wanted me to be a dope lyricist. My grandmother challenged my credibility because she wanted me to speak about my experiences. So with the two, I learned how to make a cool balance between this much profanity and this much know-how. And you merge it together and you stick the profanity in certain places for the sucker punch. Yeah, it was always for the sucker punch.
When did you start working at Peaches?
I was 20. 25 years old. Mine is like a mom, and Peaches is a sea of music, all kinds of music, and that was before anything was digital. So we hand wrote, we logged in every record that came in, and it was thousands. And Peaches was strategic because whatever your specialty was, that's what you did. A lot of people was like, it's like 8 of y'all working in there, but there were 2 different types of jazz experts and 2 different types of reggae experts and 2 different types of hip hop experts. Then there was R&B and gospel, and so that's why it always seemed crowded, like it was so many of us. But we sold a lot of music out of that store because when you came looking for something, we had the information you needed. We knew how to find that record. We knew how to tell you about records that was distributed overseas first, that a lot of people didn't know about. And Peaches just worked. It absolutely worked.
And Peaches and Honesty had a huge role in supporting kind of early New Orleans rap and bounce.
Yes.
I mean, without them, it would have been harder, right, for artists involved. They provided some support.
A lot of support. That's why we sold our music, and that's what we learned about consignment. Because like with my first record, Payback, before I actually got it pressed, my best friend Jill and my DJ Cheez, we had 2 double cassette players, and we was dubbing the tapes like that. And then we was wrapping them in saran wrap until we got enough money to buy a little case slide to slide it in a white slide. And I went from club to club all around New Orleans asking the DJ, could I sing my record? Rock the crowd, and then said, I got the tapes for $5. So with Peaches and Odyssey, we could go in there and say, listen, we have 100 tapes. And they would say, okay, well, what you need to give them to us for like $2.50 a tape, $3 a tape. You come get your money when we sell the tapes. And it was just kind of like that exchange. But what it was doing, it was making us entrepreneurs and making us CEOs of independent labels before we even knew what we were doing.
Sure. And probably gave the idea that, hey, you can do this too. I mean,
yeah. Especially, like with Sharani, I was always impressed with her because, all of the genres of entertainment are male dominated. Sharani was a big old shark, a lady shark, and handling her own and getting her bread. And as a woman, I used to just look at that, how she opened 7 days a week, and she just was about the hustle of moving the music and about exposing the artists. Her and Gary always made sure that they did something in their stores to let people know who was traveling and visiting New Orleans that there was a local scene. Her and Gary always did that for us.
On one of these records, is a production credit for Chunky Fresh.
That was DJ Cheez.
Okay. I was wondering.
Yes. At the time, Cheez's name was Chunky Fresh. He did all of the scratching on the record. We actually sat there and pieced together the record. You know, it was a hard record to do because when I dropped Payback, I wanted to take little pieces of Earth, Wind, and Fire, but I wanted certain things saying certain things at a certain time, and we were slicing and adding and slicing and adding. It was like a journey to make that record.
Did the Payback start as, you know, like a normal time song, like 3 minutes, and then you just kept adding and adding and adding, or were you just getting it all out and that's how it ended up?
Well, I used to do the Payback to drag rap, to the instrumental. And it was always, the people never wanted me to stop. Whenever I would stop, they would say, no, say some more, say some more. So by the time I got ready to record it, I didn't even know how to write bars because I'm from that first hip-hop generation where it was just spitting. So if you notice, there's really not a chorus or anything. It's like long and a bridge and long. So I think the Payback was always 8 minutes. I kind of shorten it when I'm in concert now. I shorten it to like maybe 5 minutes. But it's always been long. Because Bounce, we never really had songs. We was just going on and on and on. Now, a lot of the guys, when they started to make their records, the producers would cut their records and tell them, no, you know, this verse, this hook, that verse, this hook. But for me, they let me just do my thing because they were laughing so hard at the stuff I was saying. They couldn't even believe it.
Did that record change your life at the time? I mean, I know it set you on a course for the future, sure. But, like, at the time, did you know that it was life-changing?
Yes, because I was about to graduate from hair school. And I had just passed state board. And then the Payback blew up. And so I was faced with this dilemma. I'm making $300 a night in 2 or 3 different places for 10 minutes. Whereas if I stand up in a salon, it may take me a whole day to make the $300. And I had 2 children. So it was like being in a shop all day while your children are at nursery, and then you don't get much time with them. Or I got to put them to bed and be at the club at 12. You know, I was back home at 4, got them up at 6, sent them to the nursery. So that's what it was with me and my friend Jill. She was with me every step of the way. Jill graduated from hair school and went on to go into the salon. So Jill would always come and curl my hair and everything. And, you know, I would do her hair because I still had clients that wouldn't let me go. But at the same time, I made the choice that I was just going to go all the way in and do this music. You know, I feel like I was born to do it. After my mom snatched me out of the concert, she really put her foot down and she banned me. When I got out of school, we went to a party one time, and I was out of school. That's what she asked me to do. And the DJ was playing, and I wanted to get on the mic so bad, and she said, well, you did what you were supposed to, so you can get on the mic. And so when that happened, I got on the mic. And my mama said, this is what you want to do. It's in your blood. Go ahead and do it. And so hit the ground running. But he came down here. He was friends with Mr. Servon. See, Murder told him he needed a female artist, and that I worked at Peaches and I put out Payback and all these records. So he came looking for me. It was my off day. I was at home under the dryer getting ready to travel to Lafayette to see Scarface. And P came to my house. And he told me that he came all the way from California to see if I would be interested in working with him. So it was me, KLC, Soldier Slim, and Mr. Servon. When we got there, he had also flown his cousin, Moby Dick, up there. So we really hung out with him and did some stuff on 99 Ways to Die. It was during the Christmas holidays. Then we came back home. Then he came back for us. The time when he came back, KL didn't come and Slim didn't come. They ended up coming later. But at this point, he was asking me, would I, really join forces with him. He wanted to put out a compilation called Down South Hustlers. And I said, there's a few people from New Orleans you should work with because they are going to make some great music to go on this album. And so from there, Joe Black gave a song, Partners in Crime, Trey 8. And he fell in love with Trey 8, and then Trey 8 came up to California. But the thing about Master P, there were so many labels wanting me to sign because here I've always been like a Lone Ranger. Everybody else was part of some type of label, and then it was just me. Master P had a drive in his eyes. When he said that he was going to blow his label up, you could see the hunger and you could see the passion. And it's not that I didn't see that in other people. It's just something about this was very believable. And I took a chance with him, and the things that he said he was going to do as far as blowing up the label and setting a certain standard, he did. Like, he set the tone for the way people get money today. He's the only one that did the 80-20 deal with a national label and had his masters. He's the only one that went in there owning stuff, so that was the beginning of a life-changing experience. The Payback put me on a course, to kind of get on the path that took me to Unladylike and Mama Drama and all those other records and the records that I wrote on that took us to 75 million records sold worldwide. But the Payback was life-changing because I met Notorious Big in the airport. He was coming from Detroit, and I was catching a connecting flight. And I was so happy to meet him because I thought he was such a great lyricist, and he was a nice guy. And he was actually, I think he had broke his leg or something, so he had a cane, and we were talking. And he told me that there was a guy from Brooklyn who was in the Navy, stationed in North Carolina, who met some guys from New Orleans. Long story short, they gave him the tape of the Payback. The guy brought it back to Brooklyn because he was like, y'all not going to believe the stuff this girl is saying. Big said to me, yo, you was talking about Vitadini and DKNY and all of that in 1992. When he got Kim, he said listening to the Payback made him know the direction he wanted to take his female artists in. And so I was so happy to hear that because they always act like Southern artists don't deliver when really and truly people just kind of suck a lot of what we do and then flip it into their own thing. So after that, it was like, let me see. After meeting Big, he also did something too that kind of changed my life. I was heavy. I was 212 pounds, and all the girls that came out around me, they were like sex symbols. And I said, I'm just trying to maintain in a whole room full of sex symbols. And he said, "You gonna do your thing, Ma." He said, "Cause you dope and you cute and just work you, do you." And so after that, it made it easier for me to embrace the whole biggest mama persona and to walk in a room and be the heaviest in the whole room of girls that was in, little shorts and lace things. I said, okay, I'm going to be the heaviest and I'm going to be the heaviest. And yeah, I just worked it. But I feel like I owe him for that little booster because, the labels, they would say things to P like, we think she's very pretty, but you think she'll do lipo? Or some kind of weight loss surgery or some kind of fat camp. And one thing about P, he always said, "Mama, whatever you want to do, I'm supportive, but I ain't tripping off how you look, because you gangster." And so that was just that. But I struggled with it a little bit sometimes when I would go places, and it seems like for endorsements and other things, the ladies who were slimmer, they got more opportunities to do television and film and print ad. I see now a lot of plus size artists are getting the opportunity to do more things, but it wasn't like that for me. It wasn't like that at all.
Was national fame hard?
Yes.
How?
You're away from your family. Everywhere you go, it's a different place, it's a different culture, it's a different attitude. When you're making money, Limit was successful, and we had 2 white people that worked with us, Duffy and Barbara. Barbara is like my sister. But when people saw us, most of the time they were behind the scenes, so they didn't really see them too much. You just saw like 50 black people. And the boys, a lot of rappers are kind of short. The boys were 6'7", 6'8", 6'5". So you see these big giant black people in this heavy set. Don't take no mess black women with them. We faced a lot of stereotypes. We faced a lot of scrutiny. We faced a lot of harassment, that was even on the borderline of stalking, with the way police would do, little rounds around our office. And when we were going places, the extra security that would be in the room, and sometimes it made you feel weird because you still have to understand through it all. We were young people. Since my children are mid-20s and late 20s now, I see the age we are as children. We still were kids, and we didn't really grasp our success. We didn't even know we had did things that was like gonna make history, not in Southern hip hop, but in hip hop in general. We didn't have a clue. We heard about Forbes. We heard about Fortune. We heard about it. Then the same month, P was on the cover. And that still didn't feel like the way it feels to me now. In my late 40s, I feel like, wow, that's an accomplishment. For us, we was like, okay, so P is on this magazine. Usually it's just like rich white people, I guess. That's what we were saying. But we didn't even grasp what was going on around us. We just knew we would like to get in the studio and make music. And we liked the reaction that the fans gave us when they saw us. That's what we liked. So
I mean, it had to have been just so overwhelming, like with, Element and Cash Money hitting really close to one another, and, in a way that the city hadn't really seen since, like, Louis Armstrong.
Right.
Or, the rhythm and blues people of the 50s, I mean, it had to just be really overwhelming, just people trying to get at you all the time, or, it it's still your city, but you have to be kind of, keep yourself at a distance just to be,
Yeah, sometimes, people would say things, back in the 90s, it was like a kidnapping era. People used to kidnap. And people used to say things. But for me, it just goes back to my grandmother. Every time I got off the plane, I went everywhere I went since I was a little girl. Now, I was armed, but I went everywhere. And I think even though you can blow up larger than life, it's important to still be tangible to the people, because everything gets cold that's once hot, and so because I kind of kept my feet on the ground, I could go everywhere. And sometimes it got overwhelming, because sometimes you don't feel like taking pictures, and you don't feel like signing autographs, and you don't feel like talking about music all the time, and you don't feel like answering the question, where Pete, where this, where that, this one, Sometimes you don't. But you have to step back and say, well, these people don't get to do this on a daily basis, and that's why they're asking. So you got to kind of like, woosah and keep it moving. But yes, it was dangerous for us at times. It was overwhelming. Sometimes you felt like your body was covered with leeches, because everywhere you went, somebody needed $20, they needed their light bill, they needed this and that, and $1,000. Sometimes they asked for $20,000 like it was just water. It was a lot of stuff like that. But your people is your people, and they don't let you go, so you can't let them go.
You are very respected, but very accessible these days. You're working here, doing this stuff. It's really important, but you make sure that you're still part of the community. Do you have any problems now, or is everybody just, I'm sure you still have people showing up and trying to take a picture.
Oh,
yeah. All these things, of course. But
yes, I still get my picture taken. Still, it's still the same. Mm-hmm. But you see, I was hardcore in the community when I dropped Payback. I was always about what was going on with New Orleans, and what was going on with the people in New Orleans, and what was fair to New Orleans and its people. So where other artists blew up and became these like, ooh, we kind of people, they look at me as a respected artist, but they also look at me like, a mama in the community. If something is wrong, I'm going to show up and I'm going to speak out about it. Now, I didn't travel to too many clubs. I wasn't so much of a party animal, but I'm on the scene in the various communities. And it gave me, like, some artists come out and they can maneuver in certain portions of the city. Every nook and cranny of this city is mine. I go anywhere I want to go, because these people are my family, But I still get, even when I'm in the grocery store trying to make groceries with my bonnet on my head, I take pictures with my bonnet, my headscarf, whatever they ask. I'm honored, and it's always humbling that somebody wants to take your picture and they remember your 25, 17, 15-year-old records. I consider that a blessing, because these days we hear a record this summer and then we don't hear it anymore. We hear of an artist and then we don't hear about them anymore. So, I embrace all of that, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful my records can still come on in the club, and people that wasn't even born when it came out is dancing to them.
I know you took a lot of time off because of your parents and because you had to help your sister and your kids and everything, but you're still, you've been recording, this whole time doing other stuff. One of my favorite things you've ever done was that C Murder record in 2008 or whatever. You did a couple of features on that. Some of my favorite stuff you've ever done.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I never stopped writing. I've been a ghostwriter since 1989. I wrote Warren May's whole album, including Giddy Girl. I wrote for some other artists that I signed confidentiality clauses for some of your favorite records that come on the radio. It had a lot to do with my pen. And I write because it's therapy. My plans was to retire when I was 30. My mom and dad, they died 5 months apart. I was 29. My children were still young. My sister was just getting out of college. She had made the decision that she wanted to become a physician. And so, because it's Ashley and me, and no big siblings and no brothers, and mom had no sisters, then I had to become the family person, and I had to become the woman that I watched my mom and my grandmother be. Because my mom was the only daughter, my grandmother and I, we were like, and so my grandmother's health deteriorated. My grandfather had a stroke. My mama was, so important to our family. And I had to take care of them. When I bought my house, I moved them in my house. And so I had to take care of them, and you just got to do what you got to do.
There's this idea that Southern rap, you said it before, that, Southern rap is seen as kind of inferior, or, not as lyrical as anything else. And obviously that's just not true, but how would you...
I just said, well, where were you in 86 when Ghetto Boys dropped? Where were you when Goody Mob dropped? Where were you when Outkast dropped? Where were you when Mia X dropped? You're not listening. I was the first one to do poetry on the album. Now, DMX made it popular, but you can hear it on Unladylike. So, you're just not listening. Your mind is closed. You just want to be, you just want to be what you want to be. It's just like the other stereotypes, Everything started in the South. Everybody from the South. I don't give a damn where you moved. Everybody left the South to go wherever they at now. Everything started in the South. And that soul, and that hipness, and that rhythmic spirit that so many artists possess, it's all thanks to their Southern roots. And if they don't believe me, they can just ask their mama them.
My FEMA People? Tell me about that song.
Well, so for Katrina, I had 29 people in my house.
Were you in Texas?
Yes. Yeah. I had 29 people in my house. My uncle Leonard died. My friend Karen died. It was a bad time. People lost everything. And some of them didn't get the opportunity to even receive FEMA. Some of them, all they got was Red Cross. Some of the people who were homeowners, I think the insurance companies were so overwhelmed by the mass claims all at once. They were treating people like they had been paying insurance 20, 30, and 40 years. And everybody was having this waiting game placed on them. And the people was in a whole nother community with a whole nother culture in various states and cities. And the children was getting into fights. People was claiming they didn't understand the way we speak. They didn't understand how to pronounce the last names. And it was so many different things. And then at home, it was a lot of violence. And so I was sitting with DJ Chicken, and I said, I want to do this record called FEMA People. And so he said, and what you going to do with it? I said, I'm going to give it to Wild Wayne for 504 Radio. And so he was like, okay. So when I did FEMA People, I wanted it to be a bounce song. I wanted them to dance, but with every song, I also want you to think. And so I started it off, that the niggas better stop pulling that, still about that rat attack. Even after Katrina said it don't want us back. Houston got a problem, can't wait to send us back. Got their own rednecks and niggas pulling X. And I'm trying to tell the people, like, listen, these other cities got their own crime going on already. You got to kind of hold your mule. And even though you've been through one of the worst tragedies in American history, you got to try to hold this together. You can't get in trouble in these various cities and states. And you can't come home and be part of the problem in our own city, because at this point, they're ready to push the button on us. That was my whole thing. And I also wanted people from out of town to understand that Until you have put your children in 3 and 4 different schools in a matter of 30 days, you will never understand the psyche. And if you floated your children on a mattress because you got 19 feet of water up to your roof, you will never understand what we going through. That was my whole thing. You'll never understand that. So that was the whole thing behind FEMA People. I wanted the people in other states to have some compassion. I wanted to be a voice for some of our people going through things that couldn't properly express it. I wanted people to understand that a lot was not done, especially in the mental health department. They didn't look out for a lot of these children. I remember with my little cousins, they was drawing, just trying to ease their mind and coloring. We would buy a lot of stuff like, coloring books and puzzles and things. So people, they was laying on the ground. Their eyes was big and red. Their mouth was green. And their face was like black. So after she kept doing it, I'm like, well, kid, why are you making the people look like that? She said, because Tita Mia, when we was floating and the children was on a neutral ground, they was dead and they was like this. And their eyes was big, but they had red meat, but I don't know how to draw the meat. And their mouth had grass in it. So it all made sense. And I was like, oh. She said, they smell bad. And I said, you wanted to help them? She said, yeah, because nobody wanted to get the grass out their mouth so that they could breathe, and nobody wanted to get the meat off their eyes so they could see, and nobody wanted to give them a bath. Well, she's sick, so she knew they was dead, but you know how when you're a child, you don't really grasp the whole concept of like death. So I felt like a lot of the children wasn't talked to once they were registered in these other schools, and they just wanted to go home and see their own friends. And a lot of people, was put on different buses, so a lot of them were separated from the families, and they was wondering when they was gonna see this one and that one, because we had my cousin's children like 2 or 3 months, and the mom and them was in a shelter in Mississippi. My sister got them, and they was in Texas with us. But like that separation from a mama, children need their mamas. And no matter what condition you find out somebody mama in, some people have mental mamas, some people have alcoholic mamas, some people have drug, abusing mamas. But at the same time, you gotta understand, children need their mamas, or they need the people that raise them and nurture them. So with that being said, we just would look at the whole situation and be like, damn, it's really not enough going on, around here. There's not enough going on the mental side. And they're not understanding that a lot of people were stuck in dirty water for 5 days. And you just don't put them in another city and tell them do what you do. And you can't expect the citizens of the other city to be like, oh, welcome. They're looking like, where these people come from? Well, what is Louisiana doing? We was faced with all that kind of stuff and feeling like a refugee. And it made me feel like New Orleans is a third world country. That's what it made me feel like. It made me feel like that's the way we was treated. And that was the whole concept behind FEMA People. It was an outcry. But at the same time, I wanted them to dance. I started a $2 night in Texas. I brought second line bands. I brought Mardi Gras Indians. I brought all of the local artists to come and perform for the people. I cooked free red beans and turkey necks and corn and potatoes for him. And I tried to give him a sense of culture because, like I said, you don't just live in New Orleans. New Orleans is in you. And when you go other places and they're not doing that, I remember my children raising their hands in school as the teacher, when we get out for Mardi Gras. I remember my children asking people, well, what y'all giving up for Lent? And people in Texas going, what? What is Lent? You know? And my kids bringing king cake to school and bringing jambalaya to school. And, you know, we introduced a lot of foods to their classmates that they had never tasted because they had never traveled here. But people don't understand the emotional and how people here died of a broken heart. All these old people that died, they died of a broken heart because they was in their houses 50, 60, 70 years with all of their things and things that their mamas left them. And no matter how they try to play it off like the raggedy shotgun houses, these houses were passed from generation to generation to generation. And it was our stuff. No matter what it looked like to other people, it was our stuff from our people. And you hold things dear. Like I hold my grandmother robe dear and my mama's headscarf. And I found one of my mama's dreadlocks. And, you know, we hold those things so dear to us. And it was hard for other people to understand that because they had not been through it. When I went to Washington on behalf of the citizens here, and we were speaking on Capitol Hill, it was something came in my head that said, the people up top better change their ways because we ain't seen the last of the rainy days. And after that, everywhere else started flooding. Now, they ain't get Katrina, but they got a glass of her water. And I think people can empathize a little more and have a little more compassion when we talk about Katrina. Because a lot of people say, you know, they still talking about that. Every time they want to bring up that, people died. My Uncle Lenny, you remember right before Katrina, Judy, what that storm came,
How are we doing on time?
11 minutes.
Cool.
it was a storm that was supposed to be so big right before Katrina, maybe like the year before, but it was fake. It didn't do nothing.
Oh yeah, I forget the name now.
So my uncle, he had cancer. They traveled all the way to Dallas. Took him 20 hours. He was so mad, and he was saying he was never doing that again. Well, so he died for Katrina. And he and his wife talk about when the levees broke. Now they're in their late 70s. Well, he was in his 80s. Nellie was in her 70s. And she was trying to get the key, and it fell, and how she went under the dirty water, and she said she felt like she was on the Titanic, and how she tried to get up in her 70s to the attic and hatchet her way out, and then rescued by boat, and her husband, you know, of over 50 years, he down there dying, and there's nothing she could do. But when you think of stuff like that, you know, you can't tell people they can't talk about it no more. We can talk about this all day. For real.
10 years out, you think the city's mostly come back?
I see it coming back, you know. Only thing I want the city to do is just make sure they preserve this culture and these people. Because what makes people want to visit New Orleans is not what you see that's staged on TV. It's when you actually get here and you hear these people and you eat from these people and you have a conversation with them and they tell you their stories. That's what actually make it work, you know. But I think the city is coming back. Some things make me sad. Still see the markings on the houses. Some things hurt my feelings. But then some things make me smile. You know, New Orleans is a gumbo. My grandma always said it. All kind of people, and they all hooked up in kin some kind of way. And you don't know who's white, you don't know who's black, you don't know who's first cousins, you don't know who's brothers and sisters. So you need to be careful what you say when you say things about New Orleans people. We are family. But I want everybody that's running our city, I want them to hold this city near and dear and understand that it's the culture that makes this city thrive and that makes people want to visit it. And to try to do anything different with this city is going to hurt it because it's the only city in the world like this.
It's the proudest moment of your career so far.
You know what? Unladylike certified gold in 6 weeks. I had one video, and I didn't get a whole lot of radio play. And when the other ladies in the game was releasing 4, 5, and 6 videos, 6 weeks, that made me certified gold, and it made me feel good. You know, coming from the 7-wall shotgun house.
Where do you have it hanging?
So okay, one is here.
Okay.
One is in a closet. They ain't been hung up yet. I had a few plaques made for people that I felt was special in my life. I had one made for my parents. I had one made for my 2 coworkers that sent P to my house. I had one made for my DJ. I had one made for Peaches. So if you go in Peaches, you'll see it. A couple of the people that I had them made for, you know, they lost them in Katrina. But that's one of my proudest. That's one of my proudest memories. And meeting the people in the industry. I met some cool colleagues, you know, and just being able to sit down and tell younger people that I was a part of a movement.
If you could play an instrument, any instrument, what would you play?
I know how to play piano. If I could play the guitar,
Yeah.
man, I would rock out.
Is there anything you want to talk about we haven't talked about?
Like we talked about everything. I just want I want people to know that music is entertainment, and I understand that a lot of people are fearful of hip hop, and I know that certain songs it seems like violence or negativity escalates, but it's kind of like the same as in the movies. I always say they put the horse head in the bed on Godfather, but then the violence went to another level with the Pulp Fiction series. And if we could love these actors off the screen, I want you to love these artists off the song. And if you could have a conversation with some of them, you would fall in love with them because they are bright and they are kind. Some of them just come from places that are very, very dark. And everybody grows. You know, directors grow, producers grow, and writers grow. I cringe when I listen to some of my stuff from Good Girl Gone Bad because I was a bad little girl. When I write now, I know how to channel things and I know how to make the paragraphs and the verses fit where people who may not understand can understand. And I want people to give artists a chance to grow. That's what I want them to do. Instead of just judging them and shutting them out and crapping on hip hop. You know, I want everybody to give art an opportunity to grow and artists an opportunity to mature.
Tell us about your shirt.
So, I love these people, even myself. Soldier Slim, me, Mystical, Juvie, Biggie, Wayne, Soldier Creation, our whole camouflage movement in the city in the early 90s, like 93, this man. And this is the mama. And this man changed the sound of New Orleans hip hop. And this man did 6 times platinum with 400 degrees. And this man gave the world BG, bling bling. And this man is a rock star, Lil Wayne. And these are 504 children. And that's what I want y'all to know about my shirt.